Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm back again, ready to make another video, and I want to kind of continue on what I was talking about yesterday with the dolls, and this time I hope it will be much shorter. Like, I really don't like making 15-minute videos. I mean, that's just ridiculous, and it takes forever to upload. So today, I'm hoping this video will not be very long, and I just want to briefly talk about some of the dolls that I got as I became an adult, when most people would have stopped collecting dolls or gotten rid of the ones that they had in childhood, okay? And of course, I can't show every one of them because, well, I would have to make days worth of videos, okay? But what I want to talk about is how, okay, so basically, I, um, I turned 19 right after I graduated high school. So basically, through age 18, I got, well, for the first time in my entire life, my mom actually bought me a Barbie doll, a graduation Barbie, which I'm not going to show here, but it basically says 2002. And I still have it in the box. And so that was the very first Barbie doll that my mom ever bought me, as opposed to other people buying me Barbie dolls. Um, I talked yesterday about how I had three Barbies, three Kens, three kids, and then I later acquired a Kelly, a Tommy, and two additional Kid Court dolls that were Katie, but one of them was turned into Cody. Um, so I guess you could say that's an unlucky 13 plus two craft dolls, which is why I found it so important to consider those craft dolls to be a part of my collection, even though I no longer have them. That's how much I valued them. But I really didn't like the number 13. Obviously, I'm a triskaidekaphobe. I don't like Friday the 13th. And so, it just naturally, I wanted it to be 15 as opposed to 13. So, basically, I got a graduation Barbie, which was just a plain blonde haired Barbie in a graduation cap and gown. Like I say, she's still in the box. And I've taken her out to do things with her hair. One thing I've learned the hard way as an adult, who has collected dolls for so long that, I mean, if they were real people, they'd be several times the age they were at the time. Um, some Something I've learned as I've gone along is that rubber bands disintegrate. The rubber that is used to make things like rubber bands is very weak. The bond, the polymer is just a very weak chemical. And what happens is over the years they turn into a gooey substance, which is really disgusting. And they also dry rot. And so you'll end up with a gummy mess in your doll's hair if you're not very careful about taking them out ASAP and replacing them with these little like elastic stretch bands that you can get at Family Dollar or Dollar General. A big old pack of them. So, yeah, it's a good thing they do have an owner like me, to make sure of that I don't just leave rubber bands in their hair indefinitely, like these people that just stick their dolls in a box in the attic and never look at them for decades on end, and then they open it up and they're surprised at what they find. So, anyway, um, so basically, you could say I had 16 dolls of sort by the time I graduated. So, from that point, most people would have just had no interest whatsoever in dolls. They'd have been like Andy in Toy Story and they'd have been given some little kid their toys, or they'd have stuck them in a box, like I just said, and shoved them in the attic and never thought about them again. But I am totally different, and that's just one of the many ways. So I turned 19, And I didn't go away to college. I went to a local community college. And so, as I've stated before, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was angry because my 10-year-old sister was continuing to rack up a ridiculous number of Barbie dolls. And, people would just give them to her. It's like she didn't really appreciate them all that much. And I just got so angry about this that I even remember taking back some of the dolls that I had given her. And I feel really bad about that in looking back, now that she's a 27-year-old, almost 28-year-old adult, and she couldn't care less about any of them. But it's like I was just so angry when I thought about how few dolls I had in comparison to what she was getting. She was 10 and I was 19. And I just, started to feel very angry about that. And, at the time, like I say, I mean, it's all a matter of just different circumstance, but it made me very angry because I was very volatile. I had hard periods and I had severe PMS, and I was very volatile and hot tempered at that age as a teenager. I wasn't rebellious, but man, when something made me mad, I mean, I was mad. Um, so I just got very angry and upset about this. And so the only thing that would calm these feelings or give me just a little bit of solace or relief, or I don't know how to describe it, but the only thing that made me feel a little better about this was the thrill of going to a store, say Walmart or the dollar store or wherever I'd go, and buying little dolls of sorts. They kind of vary. And, some of them I still have, a lot of them I don't have. But, when I was 19, I'd go by after college to dollar stores. They had one right across the street from our college. And basically, I would just buy, a lot of these cheap little Kelly dolls. And, like, I don't have an example right here. But, I talked about Kelly and Tommy on my last video, or one of my last videos, and they had a lot of what you call knockoffs. I mean, they had more knockoffs of them than any other kind of doll, but these little $1 versions of them, and little cheap kinds, and they still have them to this day. And so, I would buy little dolls like that. And I also bought this Happy Family Midge because she came with a baby. And, I got Orion and, the Owlin and all that. And so these Happy Family dolls came out around that time. And so I basically began to accumulate a lot of dolls, and I would hide them in various places. I even bought me some action figures because that was another itch that I wanted to scratch. As far as I'd always been envious of my boy cousins because they got to have G.I. Joes and, really masculine looking male dolls, as opposed to Ken, who, he was a male, but he wasn't a very masculine one. I mean, let's be honest. Um, so I had this big variety of dolls. By the time I was 20, like I'd have to say at age 19, I probably got more dolls my first year of college. And my parents didn't even know about the vast majority of them. I got more dolls, and the other kind, as I've talked about yesterday, these little kid core dolls. I accumulated more of them, and I just liked them because they were easy to make into boys if I wanted them to be boys. And a lot of them stayed girls, half of them obviously. But so when I became active on eBay, I want to say I created my eBay account at least a year before I actually bought anything. This right here was my very first purchase. He is a Kevin, boyfriend of Skipper. Okay, this is the brunette version of Skipper, Courtney. Okay, and what makes Kevin special is unlike Ken, he is only 10.5 to 11 inches tall. So he's kind of like I want to say a young adolescent Ken, maybe like 13, 14, 15. Kind of the age when the voice is just starting to change. And so that was always something that I had wanted, like a young adolescent male doll that wasn't exactly a little boy anymore, but then he wasn't quite a man yet. Because I had Skipper, well, I had an Ariel Skipper, a Tyco Ariel, and I'd always wanted more Skipper dolls. Um, so I wanted a Kevin ever since they had actually been in the stores when I was, say, 9, 10 years old. But my mom had never let me have one. She thought I had plenty of Ken dolls, and, you know, I didn't have a Skipper at the time, so it's like, why did I want a Kevin? What she didn't realize is that at a subconscious level, this is who I truly wanted to be. This is how I saw myself. I'm not exactly a big, strong man, but then I don't see myself as a girl. I saw myself kind of like as a adolescent male or a perpetually adolescent male in some way. And of course, that really infuriates her. But, you know, um, I wanted Kevin, and so I was obsessed with having a Kevin doll for so long. And finally, when I was a little shy of 25, I want to say, wow, has it already been 12 years? Man, time sure does fly. So I want to say April of 2008, I finally got a Kevin doll, and he was my very first purchase on eBay. I want to say I paid about $6 total for him. And I'll never forget, I still remember the name of the person who sold him to me. And then eventually he was followed by Courtney, couldn't have a boy without a girl. And so, I mean, that was the beginning. You see, it's just like everything. They say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Okay, and that it's true with everything. That's why it is so imperative that I never get a single tattoo. Okay, because it's that first one of anything that's always the hardest but the most significant. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to make that first step, but once you do, step 2, 3, 4, 5 and onward always come more easily. Once you break the ice of knowing how to do something. And it's like that with everything. So anyway, I also, another strange experience before that, I think I was 20. Um, I finally got a Stacy, a real Stacy to go with my Todd. But, I mean, that's a long story. It was kind of a thing I did, via letters and sending money, cash in an envelope, which I'll never do that again because that's a risk. But, not long after I became active on eBay, I bought a Whitney to go with Todd and Stacy as well, kind of like a trio of sorts, 3 friends. And so, a lot of things along a lot of things occurred, between me and various sellers, and of course, I have a good feedback score, and I've also become like a seller. I'm not only a buyer but a seller. And I've had some pretty good experiences both ways. I've had a few negative ones, but you know, by and large, I've been very happy with pretty much everything. And I even got like an Anakin Skywalker who is, he's like a little boy from '98 in Star Wars who is slightly taller than Todd. But basically, and I learned how to reroute doll hair because this girl used to have blue hair. So anyway, when I was in my 20s, I mean, it really just escalated. I was not prepared for how quickly I would go from someone who had never bought on eBay at age 24 to all of a sudden a 25-year-old who was just obsessively hooked and getting packages all the time. And now it's like I wish I knew how to stop. I wish I could turn back and not have so many dolls a lot of times, but it's like, where do I begin? So anyway, before I make another 15-minute video, that's all I have to say for now.